Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Priestess View Show with me, Goddess Rhonda, and my awesome co-host, Goddess Star.
Hi everyone, good to see you guys all tonight.
We are so glad to be back with you with part two of our spring cleanup show. But as always, before we get started, we like to cast a circle of protection around us. All hail, our lords and ladies of the East, our brothers and sisters, our brother and patron, the sacred element of air, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
So mote it be. All hail, all lord and ladies of the South, my brother and sisters, my brother and patron, the sacred element of fire. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is. So mote it be.
So it is, so might it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the West, our brothers and sisters, our sister and patron, the sacred element of water, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you. So it is.
So mote it be. All hail our lords and ladies of the north, my brother and sisters, my sister and patron, the element of earth. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is. So mote it be.
So it is. So let it be. And we now bring down the divine white light from the sacred source of all well being and fill all of our spaces with peace and protection always. Thank you. So,
So
thank you, and again for coming back to us for part two of our spring cleanup show. Before we even get started, how are you doing, Goddess Star? Did you have a good week?
Oh, I had a wonderful week. Lot of little things going on, but all good, all good. Witchfest is doing so wonderfully that I'm out of spaces.
Congratulations!
For the first time since it began 5 years ago, it is completely sold out, pretty much.
Congratulations. That is
Yeah, thanks. I'm
awesome.
actually kind of scrounging for one more space, but I think, we might be able to squeeze it in.
I know you can do it. If anyone can do it, it is definitely you.
I'll give it my best. How about yours? How was your week?
I actually had a good week. Last Thursday, I got robbed. Someone copied my debit card and wiped out my bank account. And I went to work right away. I mean, literally, to have my money restored and also to rain hellfire on those people who did that, which I know they are regretting their decision. And my money, the bank returned my money to me the very next day. I didn't have to wait the 2 weeks that they said I was going to have to wait. They returned it right away. So they investigated, and after that, everything has been going really, really, really well. So I figured that was my test from the eclipse to see how well I was going to handle that, if I was going to lose my mind and kill people, or if I was going to be calm and do work to fix it. And I think I've matured to the point where I was calm and did the work to just fix it and it was going to be okay. And so I passed my test, and after that, everything has just gone really smoothly. So I'm really, really happy. I'm in a good space.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Glad for you.
I am. The only sad note that I had was that my one of my aunts, my last aunt actually passed away. But She was in her 90s. She lived such a great
Oh,
life.
that's wonderful. She
And
lived a happy, good life.
oh, she was happy when she died, and she stayed with my cousin, her only son. She got to spend her last years with him, playing with her granddaughters. He said, even though he was crying, he said it was the picture perfect life. Even when she left, she got to die with the people around her. So even that, even though it was sad, it's still a happy note that my aunt got to live this great life, this full life. She was well loved, and now she's gone on to the next phase of her journey. So I'm really proud of her because she set an example of strength for me, for my sister, for all the women in the family. She really was. Her and my grandmother were just really, really strong. So other than that, I'm feeling pretty groovy. All righty. So now let's go ahead. Wait, let me just make sure I didn't lose my sound with you. Say something, Goddess Star.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Oh,
Hi,
okay.
everyone.
Just making
I'm saying.
sure. For a minute, I thought I lost you, but we're good.
Okay.
All right. So last week, when we left off, we spent actually almost the entire 2 hours talking about love relationships, which was not our
Yeah.
intention. There's so much that goes with that
Right, right.
just kept rolling with it. And for those of you who don't know, Goddess Star and I are teachers. So therefore, we can't help it to explain like every little freaking detail of everything because we want to make sure that you get the whole thing and you get the lessons down and all of this. We don't just breeze through things. So that might make us a little bit more long-winded than a lot of other people, but it's more important to us not to give you half-assed information. One thing we're not is half-assed, and we don't like that. So it might take us a little longer to get all of our points across, but we do it with love and with the intention that you get all of the information that you need.
Absolutely.
So with that said, we are going to jump right into the relationships, but not love relationships. We're jumping into friends, family, those kinds of categories can actually be even more traumatic, with dealing with your
Mm,
in-laws and things like that. That could be even worse than love relationships. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and things that you can do to help yourself with that. So Goddess Star, what would you
mm.
like to tell our audience about ways that they can clean up their other relationships other than their love life? What's your first tip for the night?
Well, one of the first things I would say, first of all, depending on the situation, but the first thing I would ask yourself is what do you expect from each of those relationships? Kind of pick it apart, whether it's your girlfriend, or girlfriends rather, your in-laws, your family that you have, your mom, your dad, sister, brother, because we all have different relationships with each of them. We all have, we can't say any of them is exactly the same, but even if they're your brother or your sister, you have a different relationship with each of them. Um, so you kind of have, to me, I think you should sit down and decide, especially if some of it's not going in the best way that you need it to be, is to really decide, um, what do I want from this particular relationship? Or rather, what do I expect? Because if you know them really well, you kind of know
Hmm.
what they like.
Mm-hmm.
So, and knowing already what they like, you kind of have to say, okay, what should I or do I expect from this, and how can I make it work? Um, you know, that's part of the mundane things. Um, and depending on the situation, all right, I don't want to jump into a whole bunch of other tips first. So let's jump from each one to the other. So, Goddess Rhonda, what would you first suggest
All right.
yourself?
Here, I'm just welcoming Goddess Lioness to the chat room.
Oh, okay.
Everyone who is in the chat room, welcome, welcome. Clove Moon,
Welcome.
Jenny,
Yeah.
Goddess Lioness, London Lover, Tamara,
Goddess
and
Tamara.
Dana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to see you.
Yeah.
And Jenny, I'm so glad that the Be Sweet to Me intention worked. Yay, I'm really glad. Okay. So now getting back to my tip, I apologize for that. All right. So my first tip is know when it's time to end a relationship. Don't keep investing like at a gambling table with the what we call the blackjack mentality where you're sitting there. And I brought this up last week with the love relationships. where you're sitting there at the gambling table and now you've lost $20, you've lost $40, you've lost $60. You should get up, and instead you're saying, well, I've already lost 100. I'll just keep playing until I win it back. When typically you're not going to win it back. It's time to
Yeah.
know when to cut your losses. And just because it's your a family member or a close friend, someone that you've known in your life for years and years, it's like Goddess Star said, define the relationship, because maybe that person needed to be, if it's a friend, maybe that person had something to contribute to your life 10 years ago when you were friends, but now that's no longer the case and you need to move on to another space. Don't feel guilty if it's time for you to move forward. Don't feel guilty because you're leaving or you feel like you're leaving your loved ones behind you. That's really not the case. If we're all on journeys, but we're not all walking next to each other forever. So if it's your turn or time to move forward on your journey or branch off into another path while your friends are still back here, don't feel like you have to sit there and wait up. You don't, because they're in that space for a reason. They're still learning. You've already passed that space and now you've graduated and you want to move on to the next level. If you were going to college and you were in a class and it was graduation time and you were going to graduate, but one of your friends in the class didn't do as well as you and they weren't going to be able to graduate until next year, let's say they had to take the course over again. Would you stop and take the course over again so that they wouldn't feel bad and be alone? Of course not. You'd say, you know what, good luck. I know you're going to pass it this time, and then you're going to move forward with what you need to do. Relationships are no different. We're all here on a learning journey. Some of us, we're stuck in our past because we need to learn something else. Some of us are moving forward. Some of us are really lagging behind, but that you have to be, your responsibility is to you. You can't screw up your own spiritual journey because of somebody else. Now, I know that sounds easy to say when, it could be your mom or your sister. And I'm not saying, if you're taking care of an elderly parent, your life is on hold. I'm not saying, well, just leave them to their own devices. But you can also look into ways to mitigate that. Like if you're elderly or especially if you're on Medicaid, you can call people. You can call the senior citizens places. They'll even send a bus to come and pick up your loved one, take them out to go and have some fun or play shuffleboard, whatever it is that they do, all kinds of activities, bring them home. Some people they'll send people to clean the house for them. You can get help. You can get some kind of assistance. All you have to do is look for it. So you don't even have to be stuck if you're taking care of an elderly or a sick person, because there's other people who can come in that can free up some time for you to do what you need to do to move forward on your journey. So really, like, assess the relationship, define the relationship, as Goddess Star said. What do you expect from it? If you're expecting such and such and it's not happening, say so long. If they were doing such and such, but it's been a while since they've done that, then they've moved on their own stuff anyway. So now it's time for you to move on. Just really assess the situation. Try to cut your losses. Get rid of the people that are no longer supposed to be in there. And I say that with love. I don't mean just say, okay, bye, I'll never talk to you again. But, gently disassociate yourself and roll forward. Because otherwise we end up feeling bad about leaving people behind, and then we're stuck down there with them, and nobody can pull any of us out. Nobody can get any help because we're all agreeing to be stuck together. And that really doesn't make any sense when you think about it logically. If anything, if you move forward, you might be able to acquire wisdom and resources that can help them to move forward, that you can share with them and help to bring them up to speed should they choose to. And also remember that people have free will. Most of us choose literally to be in the situations that we are. We might not do it on a conscious level, but subconsciously we feel like we need to be in the space for a reason. Maybe there's more lessons coming to us. Maybe there's things that we need to learn, like setting boundaries or whatever it is. There's a reason that we are where we are, or they are where they are. So if you get the go ahead to move forward with your life, you have to remember, instead of feeling bad because you're leaving people behind, you have to remember they're in their space for a reason. There's still lessons. for them to learn. And your responsibility is to you in your own soul's evolution. You must move forward. So that is my first tip. And I don't just say that very lightly. I moved from New York to Albuquerque because I was so, one of the reasons why, one reason was because New York is just so cold in the winter, I can't handle it anymore. I'm done with that. My bones said that's it with the last snowstorm I was down there with. But more importantly was as an empath, I'm so ingrained with my family and their dramas and things that are going on. I literally had to move 1,000 miles away to free myself to move forward with my own evolution instead of constantly being caught up in everyone else's stuff around me. So if they won't leave, that means you have to leave. But somebody's got to go. And just recognize when that time is so that you can move forward on your journey. And do so with gladness and lighthearted. Don't feel guilty about leaving people behind because you're not leaving them behind. They're staying behind because they have more to learn and you have to move forward to continue with your soul's evolution. So that is my first tip for the night for clearing up relationships.
It's so funny that you used the word evolution, because isn't that what we do as human beings, and
Yeah.
the world and everything that we do is evolve no matter what, otherwise we stay stagnant. Um, so part of what I was going to say, for my tip two was, um, you know, for a human being to evolve, period, and advance in what their knowledge is, and who they are as an individual, and growth, they have to evolve. They have to move on, or they have to decide what's good, what's not for them, and things like that. But part of it is, a lot of people have a tendency to do without realizing it, whether we've moved on from Christianity or not, we still have these tendencies of what we grew up with in that particular religion, of where we kind of turn the other cheek and keep turning that other cheek, and we don't even realize we're doing it. And a lot of times we kind of say, I'm not doing that because I'm not a Christian. I'm pagan now, or whatever it is. But you're still doing that turn the other cheek thing and having them slap you upside the head. And
Right.
when you look at it as an individual, would you really enjoy having someone slapping you upside the head left and right? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Whether it's anyone, and that includes kids too. So even if someone's playing around or not playing around, it's not enjoyable being slapped around.
No.
So whether it's physical, mentally, whatever the relationships are, you have to decide at some point. It's one of the things I've told people many a times recently. They're not liking the comment I make about it, but if something or someone, something, anything stresses you out, I'm sorry. I literally say, "Hun, I love you, but if you stress me out too much, you're gonna have to get your ass out of here and go." I literally have said that. And if you're just having to wake up, or it keeps you awake, or just about anything that you can think of, or if you think of the person's name rather than, or their face rather than smiling, in memories of anything at all, you are stressed out, or got tensed, or anything like that, it means they're stressing your ass out. And if they stress your ass out over and over and over, then how helpful is that to you? You know how much diseases is caused by stress, including lupus, fibromyalgia, and all these other things? It's caused by the basic thing of stress. It's
Hmm.
one of the biggest disease builder. So are you really going to allow people to keep doing this to you at your health risk? It's now your health. It's you. You have to take time out and say, I'm sorry. It's you or me, and you got to go.
How about
You
that?
know, and it's with great regret. But think about when you do it. I guarantee you'd feel like a weight load just left. And if that happens, or when you make the decision in your head that this person or thing has got to go, you physically start changing. Everything inside of you starts going, and it does this whole thing of like, you know, yeah, it's time for the whatever it is to go. And that includes any kind of relationship, whether it's, and we all know those parents or family members that are, you love them to death, but they don't love you back to death.
Right.
So it's a toxic relationship, and it's not a healthy thing for you. And you just have, and that's hard. I'm not saying it isn't hard, because I tell you, it's easier to get rid of a partner, a sexual partner or a love partner in that sense, than it is to say to your mom or dad that you're too toxic for me, and I love you more than you love me, and it's time for me to love me more and say goodbye. It is a most, I don't even know how, I've never been there in that position, and but I've seen people in that position, and it's some of the most difficult thing for them to do.
Mhm.
But once it was done, I see that person blossom and become that butterfly that wanted to be. So stress, if the minute you start, I relate it down to basically like this, and you can identify it really quickly. Anyone or anything that stresses you out in any way, time to go. Straight up. Nothing to discuss. Just figure out how to do it in a way that makes you feel better, and you not feel like you're not hurting anyone other than saying I love you, but you gotta go. All right, that's my second tip. What about you, Goddess Rhonda?
Well, I'm sitting here kind of chuckling a little bit because I know how you are. And I wanted to tell a quick story. I had joined one of the Facebook groups. It was a metaphysical group, a witchcraft group. And these were the nastiest people. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I made a post about something and I got attacked for it. And it was just awful. And I said to Goddess Star, I said, Goddess Star, I've joined this group and these people are a bunch of idiots and they've just been attacking me. And she's just like, so leave the group. Why are you in the group? Leave the group. And I was like, oh, okay. So I left the group. But she's
You
like, she
know
didn't
me,
say,
girl.
poor you or talk to them or talk to the admin. She's like, leave the group. Just leave it. I leave groups all the time. Leave the group.
Yep.
And so I was
I
like,
think
okay. And I felt better. I was like, why should I sit here and be annoyed and consider getting into a fight with some of these people, get into an argument with them, which does not benefit me in any way? What would be the purpose of that? It was much easier. And I felt better when I just said screw it and I left the group. So it really does help to just when you know when to say, you know what, it's time to go. It really does. I agree with that sentiment 100%. And it might be hard to do it at first, but once you finally do it, you really do feel so, 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 so much better. You really do. And, Goddess Star has actually helped me. She's like the empress of letting go because she has helped me so much to let go of things. When I get upset about something I talked about, she's like, let's just let it go. Move these people on, whatever, just don't even invest your emotions into it. And I need that. I need someone to sometimes say to me, why are you wasting your time with this? Why are you even doing this? Just let it go. And so Goddess Star is my let it go chick. When I have a problem, I run to Goddess Star and she helps me to let it freaking go. And that's a good thing. So please do that. My second tip that I want to share with you is, we are all here in a learning relationship. Soulmates are not just romantic relationships. That parent that has given you a horrible time your whole life is also a soulmate relationship. That mom who did nothing but put you down your whole life is a soulmate relationship. Your sister who told you you were wonderful and boosted you up and supported you your whole life is a soulmate relationship. Soulmate relationships can be very dramatic, very painful, very I love you, I hate you. They're very traumatic. They are not as they are described on television where, oh, my soulmate is just this wonderful person and we just love each other. The total reverse can be true. And so if you recognize, take your feelings out of it and say, okay, you know what? I agree to come to Earth with this group of people. I mean family or friends or whatever. This is my soul pod. What am I supposed to be learning from these people? Instead of engaging in the emotions and yelling and the screaming and the dramas and getting upset about it and saying, oh, I'm so nice, why are they so mean to me and whatever, it's time for you to don't take it personally, because if you believe in past lives, you know that before you even came down for this round on this earth, You agreed to come down here with the woman who is going to be your mother and who was going to insult you and test you and put you through some kind of boot camp to toughen you up. Before you even came here, she might have been your best friend. You guys could have joked back and forth that, oh, I'm going to give you such a hard time and you're not going to be able to take it and blah, blah, blah. And then you get down here, you forget all of that, and then it's just right into the fighting ring, right into the ring. You guys start battling it out. But if you stop and take that emotion out of it and say, you know what, why am I getting all emotional? I'm here to learn something. So, what is it that this mom, this sister, this brother, this friend is trying to teach me? Because you're part of this little tiny soul reality. You know, I know that we're all a part of one big reality, but your home, your apartment, wherever you live is your universe. That's your little reality pod. Look at it this way. Here's my analogy for that. If you go to into a crowded restaurant and you see all of the tables are filled with different people and they're all chatting and doing their thing. All of you are in the same restaurant, so you're all a part of the same reality. However, every table in that restaurant has become a little mini universe. Those people sitting at that table, they are engrossed in what's going on amongst them, what's going on in their lives. Either they're arguing or they're laughing, but the rest of the restaurant does not matter. It might as well not even exist. So we've got these little mini universes that we're a part of. We're calling it our little learning academy, university of academies, or however you want to call it. And if you recognize, okay, you know what, in my little miniature universe, I agreed to come down here with these people and share this reality so that we could all learn something. And if you get the lesson and they don't, it's okay to say, okay, peace out. You guys go ahead and fight it out. I'm going to move forward. But at least sit there, take your emotions out. Don't say, oh, well, I was, my brother was so mean to me growing up. So you know what did I learn from my brother being so mean to me growing up? Did it make me tougher? Did it make me stronger? Did it make me really assess men before I got involved with them? What was the benefits of that? Because there's a benefit to everything. Look at the benefits of what's going on in this relationship. Everything, whether it good or bad, serves us. So say, how is this relationship serving me? How is it helping me? Is it helping me to be stronger? Is it helping me to be a better person? Is it helping me to be a worse person? I need to get out of this. How is it really affecting me and what can I do? So if you take your emotions out of it, look at this life as the learning academy that it is and focus on your own little reality soul pod or your soul reality that you have with all of these people, then you can kind of sit back and say, okay, this is what I came here to learn from so and so, and this is what I've learned. I've learned to be stronger. I've learned to be weaker. What is it that I've learned that's helped me, and what have I learned that's hurt me that I need to shore up and fix? And once you get that and accept that this is just lessons being taught to you, all of the emotions and the trauma and the drama will fade away, and then you're left in the mental and spiritual space to figure out how you can best use this information or this relationship to boost yourself forward on your journey instead of feeling like you're stuck in an abyss that you cannot get out of. You can get out of it, but the trick is to take the emotions out of it. If you feel guilty because you're going to leave somebody who might need your help, even though they're mean and horrible to you, that emotion is what's anchoring you down. Take the emotions out of it. If you feel sad because, oh, if I leave, who's going to take care of my sister and all of her kids? What's going to happen? I promise you, she'll be fine. Take the emotions out of it and instead say, what did I learn from all this? You know what I learned from this? I learned that I don't have enough boundaries. I'm constantly giving and giving and giving to somebody and to my sister, and she's not giving anything back, and that's not helping her either. It's not. You have to let people stand up on their own 2 feet and move forward with their lives. Sometimes you can help too much, and that doesn't benefit you, and it doesn't benefit them because it gives them no incentive to change. It gives them no incentive to move forward. So look at this situation. Take the emotions out of it. Figure out what is it that you've learned. How have you benefited from this? Even if you're like, well, I didn't benefit. All I got was beat up and blah, blah, blah. Well, you did benefit from it because you realized that you need to set boundaries and defend yourself. You learned a very valuable lesson. So look at the lessons, and that's what's going to help you to free yourself from being anchored by unnecessary emotions that are keeping you in a situation that you need to move forward from. So that is my second tip for that one. What do you think about that, Goddess Star?
Well, before I even hold on 1 second, I'm trying to pull up this because Goddess Tamara was asking you a question in the chat room, and I want to make sure. Let's see. I put it up here before I answer. Okay. She says, Goddess Rhonda, my father has held me back in every direction from the four corners to Never Never Land. I mean, in major ways. I think a walk-in possessed when he was little. I mean, did I really make a contract? She's questioning me. So I thought, let me put that up there so you can try to answer her that.
Okay, I was trying to find it. Try evolving. Going for Methodist. Hang on, Goddess. Oh boy, you haven't told your father yet because he'd have a coronary. All right, so Goddess Pamela, I understand that our parents, basically when we have parents, when we're growing up, they literally are the God. They decide what you're going to do, what you're going to wear. They hand out the discipline, they hand out the blessings. And because you grow up with these figures that are just looming over you, these big, powerful figures, and especially growing up in the Christian church where you have to hear all the time, honor thy mother and thy father, you're not allowed to disagree with them, and they beat that into you, you can be held back from that. However, your lesson in this is, have I allowed myself to be anchored down by my father's own beliefs that have nothing to do with mine? And would he really have a coronary if I told him that I'm not going to be in his spirituality anymore? I can pretty much promise you that he will not have a physical heart attack. He might be a little pissed off about it, but he loves you. He'll get over it. And even if he says to you, you know what, Tamara, that's it. If you decide to stay on this path, I never want to speak to you again. This is your lesson to stand up for yourself, embrace your beliefs, and say, well, you know what, Daddy, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. However, this is what I need to do for myself. And if you truly love me, you will support me in this. If you do not support me in this, then I have to question how much you love me anyway. And I need to go my separate way. And I'm not saying that's going to be easy. I've had to tell, Christian family members, listen up, this is me, and love me or don't love me. I had some cut me off for a couple of years, but they came back. And you have to stand up for yourself. This is your lesson. This is your lesson here in your soul pod, is, do you have the strength to stand up and walk away? I say that you do. Because if you've lived under a domineering parent for all of these years and you have still managed to get things done, do things in your life, make achievements, accomplish things, your father actually put you through a boot camp that made you strong enough to pull off all the things that you have been through. He's created a badass out of you because no one can even compare to him. If you look at other men in your life who could be a jerk to you or mean or domineering, you could walk away from them because they're amateur compared to your father. They're just amateur. So that allowed you to even deal with people who try to be strong as him but are not, and just kind of brush them off your shoulder or get away from them too. He's actually helped you to thicken your skin and make you the strong woman that you are today. So now your last task in order to graduate and move forward is to say, you know what? Thanks to you and how tough you were on me, Daddy, I am a strong, independent woman. And through that, I have realized I am very powerful and I embrace that power. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to use it to help people and to heal people and to guide people. And I owe that all to you, Daddy. And I want to thank you for that. And even though I'm not a part of your spirituality, when I think of Christ and when Christ said, you will go on to do greater things than me, I embrace that. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I am going out there and I'm going to heal people and I'm going to prophesy for people. I'm going to help them fix their life and I'm going to fix my life too. And I owe that all to you, Daddy. So you might not agree with me right at this moment with my spirituality. I understand that. Maybe it's going to take some time for you to get the message. But I want you to know that I love you and thank you for every ounce of strength that you have given to me. Give your dad a hug and a kiss and walk away or sit down and let him have his say. But when you say that, you let him know that he has helped you. He has done what he has set out to do to make you a strong, independent woman. Just because you disagree on spirituality doesn't mean that he has not contributed to your life in a beneficial way. So that's how you address that with your father. Sit down. You don't have to go in and say, Dad, I decided I'm pagan, like it or lump it. I don't really give a rat's ass what you think. I'm just going to do it. You don't have to do that. Go in there and say, thank you. Thanks to you, I am tough. I am strong. I am resourceful. I have made achievements in my life. I'm in a happy relationship. And I owe that to you for the boot camp that you put me through. And for that, Daddy, I love you. I will be grateful to you for the rest of my life. And just because I disagree with your spirituality does not mean that I do not appreciate all of the awesome lessons that you have taught me. And give him a hug and see how he feels about that. Because if nothing else, at least he'll know that he has contributed to your life. You will be openly acknowledging how much he has contributed to your life, which can shift how you feel about him. And then that can actually give you the peace and the strength that you need to go ahead and walk away from that situation. So go ahead,
Absolutely.
recognize what you have learned in this relationship, embrace it, and thank your dad. And then feel free to move forward with your life and what you feel you need to do. I promise you, he will not drop dead. I promise. He might be mad and throw something, but he will not die. So hopefully that will answer your question. Okay, so
Okay.
that is,
Well,
don't
I'm
be
gonna.
in tears. Tamara's like, I'm so awesome, I'm about in tears. I understand, sweetie. I do understand. And Goddess Star and I are surrounding you with love and light and hugs because we know what it's like to have to face people down about our spirituality and defend ourselves. So we can totally dig it. Totally.
And I'll tell you something, goddesses. My mom is the worst, or rather, the most Christian person I've ever met in my entire life. And so when I had to tell her, um, she still has not allowed me to really say the words, "Mom, I'm a witch," kind of a thing. I'm not even saying pagan. I'm straight up. You know me. I'm
I
very
know
out.
you. I know you,
I've always
girl.
been. I've never been in the closet. I'm not an in the closet kind of person.
Me either.
So I've always been out. And I remember I had a store in the East Village, and it was one of those stores that had a big wall that, like brick wall that's kind of like a part, like an arch. So it looked like two stores, one half and one half. And my friend took the one side with vintage, and I think I mentioned this to you before. And I had the witchcraft store on the other side. And my mom came to visit, and she walked sideways like this into the store. She walked sideways, so her back would face my side of the store, and her front would face the vintage side of the store. She's like, "Hi, honey, how are you doing?" And I'm over there, and I hope you're fine. And she's not wanting to turn around. But later on, I remember she would not let me address it, like talk to her about it or anything. She'll
Right.
talk about, if I tried, she would talk about any other thing and cut me off.
Right.
So I sat down and I wrote her a letter. It ended up being, I thought it was going to be like a 1-page letter. It ended up being, I think, like about 30 pages
Wow.
of me handwriting all my thoughts, all my things, everything, that I've witnessed over the years. And I said to her, I respect you for your spirituality and what you've gained from it. And I'm happy that it helps you. But this is mine. And all I'm asking is that you respect mine and be happy for me with mine. And to this day, she has not really acknowledged it, but her disposition to me has changed where we get along, but she's still with the Jesus Christ, precious blood, I'm going to bless you all over the place, kind of a thing. She's still trying to save my soul.
I
But
understand.
I did tell her that I said, am I not still the same person? She goes, yeah. I said, so what's the problem? You know? Um, but she, again, that's them, that's how they are. And they're so ingrained in Christianity. It's what they do, you know? And even though their Bible says, judge not least to be judged, they do judge us. So I kept saying, Mom, you're sinning, right? You are judging me. I'm using the Bible quotes against her and all these different things, you know. But it is what it is, you know. You gotta let them go and be what it is. Um,
Mhm.
but you know, it is. you know, I wish you all the best on how you handle it, though, and you will see fit how you can do it. Maybe you write a letter too. Maybe that's the only way you can relay it. I don't know, but let him know your thoughts, or if you have to speak with him in person, you do the best you can. All right.
Exactly.
Um, but the third tip, um, depending on the relationship, one thing you have to always bear in mind is, you would find yourself a lot trying to always take care of everyone, and
Mhm.
you have a tendency to not see that you do have to find time for you and take care of you. And
Right.
if you're not selfish enough to say, I am taking care of me, people tend to abuse that. When you don't start claiming the right um, to just say, I really need to go do this for me. It has nothing to do with you. It's not about you. It really isn't. Because all of it is pertaining to how much peace it could bring to you. And you want and require that your body and you, your mind, everything about you, your soul, can be at peace. And if I'm demanding my right to peace and happiness, then I'm sorry. Everybody else and everything else has to take second fiddle, kind of a thing. um, Short literally of your children, and I don't mean adult children, I'm talking about small children. They will always need you, but as they get older, they don't need you as much, even though we think they do.
Right.
They don't need us as much, and we have to learn to step back and take care of us now, you know. So my tip with that one is more realizing that it is time to take care of you, because if you don't, that little bit of weight you're trying to lose, it holds on. I hate to tell people that, along with stress that I mentioned to you before. Stress makes you hold on to weight. Um, Holding on and trying to help everyone else and not taking the time for you holds on with weight. All the things that you don't even say, I'm going to go to the gym. Many of you guys are saying, I don't even have time to go to the gym. I don't even have time to go to the pool. I don't have time to go take the to the beauty salon and get my hair done,
Mhm.
or you know, any of those things. Just take time for you. What makes you happy? You know, and you have to be selfish. If that's being selfish, then selfish be damned. You're taking it all and you're going to say, I am going to be selfish and take care of me. Gotta take care of you. You
I
know, that's my third tip. What about you, Goddess Rhonda, for your third tip?
I agree with you, and I really like that you said that you have rights. You have rights to happiness, you have rights to peace. Exercise your rights. You wouldn't let someone come in and tell you you're not allowed to do this, or come in and start a martial law in your house and dictate what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat, and all of these things. You have rights. Assert your rights. Do that. You have a right to happiness. You have a right to peace. So I really like that you put in there to assert your rights for those things, because I think that is really important. Okay, for my third tip, I have be open to exploring new friendships, new relationships, because sometimes we get into our little cliques and we've been in the same cliques for 30 years or so. And you know what? The people that you started on your journey with, they may not be as useful anymore. And I don't mean to say that we're here to use people, but what I mean is new relationships, new people can come in, bring you new ideas, new knowledge, new wisdom to help boost you into the next level. The new relationships are also soul pods that you agreed to meet someone somewhere down the road, maybe in 20 years or 30 years, and they were going to help to boost you into the next level. So don't feel like, if you've had the same BFF for 20 years, but suddenly your interests are different. Maybe you've decided to start exploring your spirituality, and they've decided they just want to stay where they are, or they think what you're doing is crazy or evil or whatever. You have to decide, is this person in alignment with who you are now? And if not, I'm not saying you have to let them go. You can certainly talk to them or whatever, but it's time to expand your circles and be open to finding friends who are like-minded. I know people don't like to cheat on their BFFs. They don't want to do that and feel disloyal because now they've got another friend who's more in line with what they're trying to do for themselves. But it's not about cheating. Your obligation is to you. Your obligation is to continue to move forward as best as you can. So don't feel like you're being disloyal to your old high school friend that you've been friends with for 40 years because now here's a new person that's very into their spirituality, interested in the same spirituality as you, maybe further down the road, and they can help you. They can give you tips or teach you how to do spells or meditate or whatever, or bring you into a group of people that's more in alignment with who you are now. Don't feel like you're being disloyal. What you're doing is you're being loyal to yourself. That is who you owe your loyalty to, is to you. Who is going to help you to move forward? This person that disagrees with your spirituality and thinks you're evil and is telling your friends, I don't know what's wrong with Rhonda. She started this whole witchcraft thing and she's into the dark. She's joined the dark side. Darth Vader has her and took her over to the dark side. It's time to say, you know what, I have loved you as my friend for however many years you have been my friend and appreciated you, but I see that, we're starting to go in different ways. So I'm going to go ahead and give you permission to go ahead and follow along on your journey, what it is you need to do. And I'm just going to go ahead and give myself permission to move forward. And if you want to come with me on this journey, you're more than welcome. I love you. But if not, I understand and I wish you peace. And move forward. Don't stay stuck in a stagnant. I mean, some of us, we stay stuck in love relationships. Don't stay stuck in a stagnant friendship either, especially if they're people that are no longer in alignment with what your current beliefs are. Maybe you both started off in church together in Sunday school, and now you've decided that you want to explore other kinds of realities, other spiritualities, and they don't want to, and they're trying to hold you back from that. Don't let people hold you back. That's on them. You have to feel free. As Goddess Star said, exercise your right to be happy, to be at peace, but also to continue to evolve. It is so important for us to do that and not stay stuck, because if you don't, then you get to come back here and do it all over again. And so ask yourself that. If you're like, I just can't leave my friend, she's been my friend for 50 years and I just can't, ask yourself, let me think though, is my friend worth me having to come back here and do this all over again? Really think about that. If the answer is no, they are not worth me coming back here to go through all this crap again, it's time to say peace and
Yes,
move
sayonara.
forward. That's what's it's
Yeah,
time for you to do. So that is my third tip on relationships. What is your fourth tip,
absolutely.
Goddess Star?
Well, for the fourth tip, it's interesting. I was thinking of an actual diamond and how it has so many facets to it. And you're looking at the same diamond, but then you see so many different sides of it, right? And we can see that because we're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Life, unfortunately, is not like that. Life is not like a movie where you know how you'd see Goddess Rhonda's point of view, Star's point of view, Goddess Tamara's point of view, and all in the same context. And you're like, oh, okay, so that's what that one is, and that's what that one is. And then when they get in the middle there, they kind of like, but I misunderstood what you said, and they're all kind of going whatever. And then you can kind of take the movie and kind of go, oh, so that's what you meant. It wasn't really meant any particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not like that. I wish it was. It doesn't give us all the many different sides. So all you do is get the one that you're seeing. And no matter how much we try to relate it and go, I want to see your side, and we're trying to be empathic, and we're going, I want to see your side to it. Unless you are standing there with that person and you're looking genuinely, because if you get on the phone with that person, you're not seeing how genuine they are in terms of seeing one side of it, because facial expressions and body expressions give away cues and you can see it. So if you're discussing something, then you know where you're coming from with it.
Right.
But because life is not that movie, you have to see it always. I hate to say it one dimensionally and kind of say, I got to step back. I got to look at things from my movie point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unhealthy what I'm seeing unless you can tell me something differently. So talking to people a lot, communicating. I used to tell people, um, when they had and this relates to any kind of relationship, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Mhm.
When my husband was alive, one of the biggest things that I found is that people kept asking me, how come you and your husband were always so happy or so a particular way? And I'm sure remembering that back to your relationship too with your husband that passed away.
Mhm.
And I said, honestly speaking, every little thing that came up, we discussed it to death. We discussed it. We talked about it right away. We had this thing about never going to bed unless it was we felt better hitting the bed, knowing that whatever it was came out in the open and we knew what was going on, because communication was a big deal to us. And honestly speaking, it worked to the point that whenever I do a marriage or something like that and I officiate it, at the end I say, please remember to communication, communication, communication. I said it's a big deal because no one, you can't, he will not know your thoughts. He or she will not know your thoughts. Even your friends will not know your thoughts unless you relay them. You let them know how you feel from the get-go about something, because you'd be surprised how much something could have been solved so easily if you said right out front, you hurt my feelings when you said so and so and so. I thought
Right.
you had my back with so and so and so. Or I thought you were my best friend from forever, but this is something that means a lot to me, and you did not in any way empathize with me or was on my side about it. The fact that that I'm thinking of letting you go out of my life. And maybe if you relay and communicate some of that the way that you really want from the heart, you may not have to get rid of certain relationships, because then that person might relay back also and communicate with you better. Because in any relationship, communication is a big deal.
Mhm.
And if you don't, and Goddess Rhonda will tell you, there were times in the past when we first met, and it was online that we first met, and then on phone and all of the different things. But we talked about things, and we found, and Goddess Rhonda would say things like, "Oh, I thought this," and I said to her, "Yeah, I thought that too." And we realized, after communicating, we realized how much we have in common, and or how
Mhm.
much we for every little thing. And it may seem like every little thing, but if we discussed it, there's no misunderstandings there.
Mhm.
And that goes across the board with any kind of relationship. And if I know it worked between my husband and I, so I know it can work for any other type of relationship. And sometimes, yeah, some things are hard to discuss because you don't know how much either that hurt or whatever it is, but it's better to face it now, get it over with. And if it's something that really cannot be solved, then that's where you let it go.
Right.
But communication is a huge, huge thing, huge thing. And a lot of you guys hold on to things, and I know you think that um, it works for now, but I have watched many of people come through my school and my temple and saying how much it hurts them to see that they cannot come out of the closet and tell their friends or their family members about their lifestyle, and how much it means to them. And many of them, after a while, give up being a pagan or a witch because they want to fit in, because my husband said I have to, or my girlfriend said I had to, or whatever it is, because they didn't talk about it.
Mhm.
If you tell someone from the get go, I told my husband, he was not pagan, my husband was Russian Jewish. And I told him from the get go that I'm very, when I met him, that this is something that means a lot to me. And he said, well, I love you, so I got to love whatever it is you're trying to do there. I don't know anything about it, but just explain it to me, you know. But then again, he was that open type of person, which is why we got along so well. And he had also one track mind of like, wow, I got to date her, I got to marry her. He was gone crazy. But I'm just saying, in general, I think communication is a huge deal, and sometimes if you do that from the get-go, people tend to relate to you better and they tend to accept things about you more. So at least give it a try. And that's mine. What about you, Goddess Rhonda? What's your fourth tip?
I just first I want to acknowledge what you said, and I agree with you um, wholeheartedly. My late husband was a Muslim from Pakistan. He grew up in rural Pakistan where it was really, really very, very religious. And I told him straight up who and what I was immediately. And he thought that was awesome. He had no problem with it whatsoever. No problem with my spirituality. I had no problem with his spirituality. We were just fine with it. And, I didn't bother trying to hide it because I didn't know what he would think. Because, my attitude is I am who I am. Take me or leave me. That's up to you. No hard feelings if you don't like me. I don't expect everybody to like me. And if you don't, that's okay. But I'm going to let you know who I am and what I'm about because that's just who I am. And that's what I do. I let you know up front, this is who I am. So communication, I agree, is very important. Um, my fourth tip is if you're in stagnant friendships or stagnant relationships where it just doesn't seem like you're getting further and you're ready to branch out with the people that you associate with, you can design your own plan, design your own friend, if you're looking for a mentor, you can design a mentor, you can design who you want to come into your life with a little action plan. So what you do is you just take a piece of unlined paper and you fold it in half. I'm going to try and hold it up. And I don't know if it's coming out backwards, the writing, but on the first page, you're going to put my perfect friend. And you're going to detail everything that you want, a friend, mentor, teacher, whatever it is, whatever kind of relationship you're trying to bring in. You're going to detail everything about them, everything that you want with that friendship. Someone who's supportive, who's funny, who knows more than you, that can teach you, that can help you, or who you can help, whatever it is, you detail it. And then on the next page, which you have numbered page 2, you put what makes my perfect friend, mentor, teacher, whoever it is, tick. And you write down all the passions you expect them to have. What do they like? Are they into politics? Or they're not into politics? Or they're into baking or gardening? Whatever it is, whatever their passions are, you write that down. And next to it, you write your own stuff down. This is where you get to know yourself. A lot of us think we know ourselves, and we really don't. We don't realize what all of our passions are. So this is a chance for you to really get into yourself and say, what are my passions? Maybe the passions you had when you were 18 are not what you have at 40. So you're going to write down what your passions are and make sure they're in alignment with what you think you want in a friend. And then on the next page, you write, what am I willing to do to find my perfect friend, mentor, teacher, whatever, boyfriend, husband, whatever it is you're trying to come up with. And that might mean, well, I need to join some meetup groups. I need to find like-minded people. I'm going to get out more. I'm going to go to parties. I'll go, whatever it is. And then all you have to do is read this twice a day. Read it twice a day. You keep it by your bedside. And the reason you keep it by your bedside is because you want to read it when you wake up in the morning, when your subconscious is open. You read it, put it down, go about your day. When you get into bed and you go to lay down for the night, you read it, put it down, and go to sleep. And you want to keep it by your bedside because if you keep it across the room and you've already gotten into bed, you're going to be like, oh, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I'll just do it tomorrow. You don't want that. You want to keep it right there by your end table or by your bedside where you can read it, put it down, get up, or read it, put it down, and go to sleep. And you can actually start bringing these people into your life right away, even within a couple of weeks. The people that you want in your life, be it a boyfriend, a friend, a mentor, a surrogate sister, whatever it is that whoever it is that you're trying to bring in, you can use this. And you can actually have those people start coming into your life in a matter of weeks. And you got to design the people that you want to come into your life. You're not just leaving it up to fate. You're saying to the universe, this is the kind of person I need in my life for this particular reason or for whatever it is. And you say that, and that will help you to bring that person in. So go ahead and design your own perfect BFF or your own perfect surrogate sister or your own perfect mentor, whoever it is that you want to come into your life. Go ahead and do that, because there does come a time when our friends, if the relationships might stagnate or you're going in different directions and it's time to branch out and you don't know who to trust, you don't know what to do. This way, by designing your own type of person that you want and putting that energy out there every day, twice a day, you have a much better shot of bringing in the kind of person that's going to support you, be on the same mental page as you, the same spiritual page as you. If you're just looking for somewhere, a workout buddy, whatever it is, you can bring that person in by doing this. So go ahead and feel free, examine, take an assessment of your friendships. If they are not serving you anymore or serving your highest and best good, feel free to design your own people and bring them into your life. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to just say goodbye to your friends and dump them and then, after all these years. I'm not saying that. It's just that you need to put the relationship into perspective, maybe make those people your weekend friends and get an everyday friend that's more in alignment with the person that you are now. So that is my fourth tip: design your perfect friend and bring them into your life. And again, it could be a friend, a lover, whatever it is, or whoever it is that you're looking for. You can design that person and bring them in. And so that is my tip for relationships. Are we on our fourth, fifth tip or a fifth tip? No, we're on our.
Now we're going into our fifth.
Okay, so go ahead, Goddess Star. Take it away.
Okay, for the fifth tip, I would say trust your intuition. And I mean your regular mundane intuition, as well as, I would say, to me, my intuition is kind of magically connected with my mundane intuition. And we're not all on that yet, or whatever it is. But whatever your intuition, usually, I'll tell you something. The very first thought when you meet someone is usually the most accurate. Um, a lot of times you've met people, and or not even physically met them yet. You spotted them across the way, and you just get this instant feeling of like, I need to not go anywhere near that person. There's something that's just it's just something. Um, I remember walking into a store once in the East Village. It was a pagan shop, and as I entered, I literally got this uh, like a pit box into my stomach. I don't know even how to describe it. Like an intense pain, and like a black shadow cloud, like a literally, like, when you see a thundercloud outside,
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I just turned around and I walked away from the shop. And a lot of times when I meet people, I will see either a symbol or something that you feel it. And a lot of times what we tend to do, unfortunately, we tend to second guess our magical intuition, and we kind of go, oh, that's just silly. And you do it mentally.
Right.
And you step back and you go, hi, how are you doing? And you let it go. And you're still feeling it. You are feeling it. I know you are in your gut, but you're letting it all go and you're doing it. And then later on, you said, why didn't I listen? So and so, something really, whether it's bad or not so great or whatever happens, and you're like, I felt it, but why did I just ignore it?
Mm-hmm.
Use that, allow that intuition to be part of your lifestyle, whether you enhance it or whatever you want to do magically. Work on it, where pick up things, even when you go, say for instance, to a vintage shop. If you pick up certain vintage items, especially when it comes to vintage items, you can sense things from each one, and a lot of times you put it back down right away for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
You put that item back down right away. The same thing applies for human beings. The difference is, we see it as an inanimate object, so we kind of go, oh, and we put it back, and you're like, something's wrong with that, and you walk on. Do the same things in life with people, because a lot of times it's trying to warn you.
Right.
And if you keep ignoring it, it will kind of put a back burner on it. And later on, it'll come up and say, I did try to tell you. Your intuition do this kind of thing sometimes, and I guarantee you felt it before. Where I'd say, I did tell you, you
That's
weren't listening to me.
right.
I told you, or I told you so, kind of a thing. And you're sitting there going, and you're almost like knocking upside the head, going,
That's
I
right.
really should have listened. I should have listened. And I didn't listen. And now look what I'm in whatever trouble, you know. Because I remember another time where I was at a club with a friend of mine in Toronto. Sparkles is the CN Tower. Everybody knows the CN Tower in Canada, in downtown Toronto. And in the top of the tower is a big a club called Sparkles, and it kind of does a slow turn, and it's like the club to be in.
Right.
And we were leaving there, and my friend said, "Oh, I have this friend. He's gonna drive us home." And I looked at her and I said, "A friend? Someone you knew from before?" She goes, "Well," and she hesitated, and I was like, "She's lying," but I didn't listen to that, you know. And I was, I wanted to ride home because I was tired, and it's a bit of on the highway, and and I listened to her, and I let it go, and I didn't listen to my intuition. And we went in the van with these guys that she said were her friends, and on the highway, these guys tried to rape us
Oh my
on the
God.
highway in the van in the back. And of course, they didn't know I knew martial arts, so I was like knocking right and center and everything. And I got out, torn clothing and everything on the highway. And I was like, "Are you getting out?" And I'm telling her, and I'm holding a knife. I had a little, I would call it my Bruce Lee Jr. I was like, "You, are you getting out of the van or not?" And she's like, "No, they're going to take me home." I said, "Are you absolutely sure?" I don't know what happened. She was alive the next day and everything was fine with her, but that's on her. That's not me. I got out on the highway, hopping, dropping with my torn clothes and everything, and I hopped the fence and I climbed down the highway and everything. That was dangerous. Anything could have happened to me on that highway. I made it home. My mom never knew. I went up, crawled up to my room and put on PJs, took a shower and everything. My mom never knew, but I should have listened to my intuition. I'm just saying that's just one thing, you know, but a lot of times if we listen to our intuition, we would not be in certain positions to defend ourselves, or we would not be with the wrong people that we shouldn't be with, or even that so-called BFF friendship that takes a turn when they find out you're onto a different path and they're not willing to accept who that person is. Because honestly, a true BFF accepts you in whatever modality, whatever way that you are.
Hmm.
I don't mean that they accept everything that you're doing as a witch, because they don't know you that way unless they follow that path as well. But what I mean is they're willing to accept your friendship and you as that person in whatever way or whatever things that you're doing, unless it's something that they really consider destructive. And if it's a true BFF, they will inquire and make sure, not because they are judging you, but is it in any way detrimental to you? That's the first thing they're thinking, and that's a true BFF. They're just thinking, I want to make sure you're protecting yourself because I will make sure I protect you.
Right.
They're not there to judge you. They're not in any way like that. They just want to make sure they don't know anything about witchcraft, but they want to make sure that you're doing, it's nothing to harm you. Because a lot of them are ignorant of what it is, and they just presume what the movies have already told them. You know, so um, it, it it's just that you have to really sit back and listen to that intuition of yours, and that's my tip. Intuition, big deal. Okay, and what about you, Goddess Rhonda?
I agree
That
with
was
you.
my last and final tip for that whole section.
I agree with you, and I want to just add something to that. If your intuition isn't kicking in, listen. If your friend is telling you, like Goddess Star was trying to tell her friend, if your friend is telling you, listen, I got a bad feeling, or don't do something, don't just say, oh, you're just being silly or whatever. Stop and think about what they're saying. Give credence to what they're saying, because it could be the voice of the divine speaking through them to warn
Absolutely.
you. I cannot tell you how many, and I hate to admit this guilty pleasure that I have of watching Discovery ID with all of these shows that will scare the hell out of you if you're a single woman. Web of Lies, where people get tricked and ripped off by people online or murdered and killed, and dark obsessions with stalkers and things like that. But I know a lot of the reason I have to watch that is because I can be lackadaisical. And because I'm so spiritual, I tend to be circling around Neptune when I need to be paying attention to what's going on and making sure that I'm safe. So these are sort of safeguards to remind me that. It even helps me with my empathy because I feel so sorry for people. It reminds me that just because someone grins at you, they're not nice. But anyway, I will share. When I was younger, my first boyfriend, my first fiance, he started off great, just to make a long story short, and then we became very, very controlling and possessive. I mean, it was just crazy, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And finally, he literally pushed me out of his car, and I said, "That's it. You know, you put your hands on me. We are totally done." And I was really angry, and so I went stomping off. Well, my next door neighbor, who I'd grown up with, we'd been neighbors forever. There was no love between us at all. He was just my neighbor, and we were friends. We've been friends forever. He's a few years older than me. He saw him as my boyfriend stalked off, my fiance drove off. He saw, me upset, and he says, "What's the matter? Come on, let's go get a drink." So we hop in his car, and he had one of those sports two-seater sports cars with the stick shift in between, and we're both two pretty big people, so we were pretty crammed in there. We go to a bar, and I'm just drinking and crying all my woes and what's going on, and he's listening to me and nodding and so forth. Well, we drive home and we pull up into his driveway, which of course is right next to my house. And as I'm looking at him and talking to him, he's looking over my shoulder and looking out the window. So I turn to see what he's looking at, and there is my fiance, scared the crap out of me. He had his whole face and his hands pressed against the window, looking at us. Made me jump, scared me half to death, but I was drunk. And my friend says, "Listen to me. Do not get out of the car. I don't care what he is saying. Do not get out of the car. Leave him alone and he'll go away." And he's out there calling me all kinds of bitches and I'm cheating and I'm a hoe and all these things. And I'm trying not to get out of the car. I'm trying to calm myself down because it's not my nature to sit there and be berated. It's my nature to come out with my claws straight out and come at you when you come at me. So it was even drunk, I had to calm myself down and try not to say anything. And so he walked away to his car and he got in his car. Then he gets out of his car and comes marching back up. And this time I had it. I jumped out the car to meet him head on. And this was a big guy who worked out my first fiance. And he had no problem with picking me up and throwing me against the car. And he almost broke my finger trying to get my engagement ring off. And when my friend jumped out of the car to fight him, because he was a man, he took off running. And that is when I was finally able, actually, really, to let him go, because I was like, "Oh, you can fight me, but you can't fight a man." That's when I lost all respect and I was able to actually finally
He's a
almost
coward.
end the relationship. He tried one more time to kill me. He stalked me for a year, and then he tried to throw me off my deck. But anyway, um, I say all this to say is that my friend kept telling me, "Swallow it. Just don't get out of the car. Just let him rant and rave. He's going to go away." And I didn't listen. And I ended up getting thrown against a car, almost having my finger broken. It was a very, very, very bad scene. And that's actually, though, he did me a favor ultimately because we belonged to the same church. He was a minister in the church that we went to. And he went back and told them all kinds of lies about me, that I was sleeping with my neighbor right in my neighbor's driveway, which is right next to my house, with my mother's room right there that she could look down and see what was going on. Aside from the fact that we were in this little car, like a bunch of like sardines, there's no way you can even make out in that car because it was so tiny. But because of that, I ended up getting shunned by the church. And that's when I was finally able to let go of Christianity and embrace my paganism. So technically, he did me a favor. It was a harsh exit from Christianity. But
Right.
because of that incident and because I got shunned after so many years of service and teaching Sunday school and all the things, that I was finally able to embrace who I was and walk away. But if your
Right.
intuition isn't kicking in and your friend who's next to you, you're sitting next to the bar with your girlfriend and you're like, "Wow, that guy's really cute. Look at him. He's really cute." And your girlfriend goes, "I don't know. I'm feeling kind of like he's kind of shady. Like something is off here." Listen to your girlfriend. At least investigate. Open up your senses to sense it, to see is what she's saying true? Is it just that's how she feels? Don't just pass it off like she's just not interested or she's jealous or whatever it is. Pay attention to your friends. And
Yeah.
that was what I wanted to add for that. And my last tip is to be conscious as to whether or not is this a real relationship or is it a spiritual assignment. A lot of us listening and in this spirituality are empaths. We are here really literally to help people. And so sometimes people will come into our lives as a spiritual assignment that the universe has sent to us and said, listen, Rhonda, I want you to help this person get out of whatever it is they're trying to get out of. This is going to be your job to do that. But because we don't know that, we can actually, because we have this feeling, this need to help them so much, we can confuse that with love and actually invest our hearts into this person. And then when the spiritual assignment is over and they've got what they needed, they're like, oh, well, hey, thanks a lot and goodbye. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I just invested all this time in you. You know, they might just disappear. They might start a fight with you and do something really crazy to turn you off. You know, I just did all this. I invested all this time in you. I invested all this work in you. This is the way you're going to treat me. Well, they were your spiritual assignment. You're not there. So they had no obligation to repay you. They were there for you to teach them something and move on. They had no obligation to return the favor. So when they leave and move on their journey, it hurts us because we invested our hearts when we weren't supposed to. We were supposed to just help this person on whatever leg of the journey we happen to be there on and send them on their merry way to go forward. So really, even before when you start to know someone and you feel like, oh, I have a connection with this person, be it a love connection or a friendship or whatever it is, pay attention to how the relationship develops. If you are always on the giving end, you're always giving advice, you're giving money, you're giving food, or giving your time, whatever it is, you're giving, 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 and they are taking, 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 and they are not around when it's time for you to talk about things or when you need help, that is a spiritual assignment. So do not invest your heart. Look at it for what it is, help them with whatever it is you're supposed to help them with, and then go ahead and let them go. Don't invest
Yeah.
yourself. It's either a 50-50, you give, they give, you take, they take. But if it's all they take and you give, that is a spiritual assignment. Help them whatever it is you're supposed to help them with and let them move on in peace, and then you won't feel so used or upset or taken advantage of because you weren't supposed to invest your heart in them in the first place. And believe me, I've done it. I know. I'm sure Goddess Star has done it too,
Yeah.
invested her heart, and then it turns out that person was supposed to be just a spiritual assignment, and it was a nasty exit that they made from our lives, and we're left like, what happened? They're so ungrateful, that ungrateful
I
so-and-so.
know. I know. We've done that.
I've done it. I've done it a million times before I finally got the message. Now I'm very, very careful about who I invest my heart into. So be careful
Yeah.
who you invest your heart into, and that can save you a lot of pain later on down the road if it turns out that they were just a spiritual assignment that you were not supposed to invest yourself in.
Right. And before we move on for one moment, I wanted to kind of address something that Goddess Clove Moon said.
Hmm.
I'm putting you on the spot, Goddess Clove Moon, but I had to I looked at this and it hit my heart. She said, it's so hard to communicate and let someone know why you are walking away from the relationship. Once I make up my mind that I'm walking away, it's too late to talk over things. I wouldn't matter. It wouldn't, I guess she meant to say it wouldn't matter. Perhaps it's cruel not to let the other person know what your reasons are. But I get to a point where I don't want to open the lid on my feelings, feelings that I have painfully worked through to come to the decision to leave. I've had to do that with my grandfather, my best friend, and two husbands. Other people call me unfair, judgmental, and ridiculous for being like that, but it saves my heart from more hurt. Um, and that works to a degree. I'm going to say one part, and I don't know if you wanted to also say something around as well for this. Um, I think it works to one degree. The only issues is imagine turn it around as to where you're that person. You're one of the husbands or the grandfather, and I don't know the situation, so it depends. Every situation calls for how you handle it. But if you're handling all of them in the same manner, then it means that maybe you need to take a step back and figure out how that you should handle it individually and not treat it all as the same case. Um, because I don't know, I can't envision all of these being the same cases. So I'm just thinking it outside of the box in that way and putting myself in that person's place. And if you were that person and someone just ends a relationship with you without telling you anything about it and just ends it, no reasoning, no rhyme, no anything. Just, I need to end this relationship. It's not good for me. that's not healthy for that person as well, because they're standing there wondering what the fuck, what happened. I don't know. We were going, at least they thought they were doing okay, and then you just do that again. That's just me kind of going by what I read here now. And yes, it does save your heart, but the fact that you are, in some ways it saves your heart, but it's not saving who you are as a person, because you're not really letting it go. You're going to hold on to a lot of it, because in your the way the human mind and works is that you are not being fair. It is not even unfair to other people, but unfair to yourself, because you're not allowing yourself to really let it go properly by um, talking it out, or at least letting them know why, so that when you walk away, you would feel better that at least I've released that. The only way to release and let something go is if you let it go, not just saying goodbye, but not letting go all of the reasonings behind it and all of that. So you're letting go of parts of it and not the whole thing. And after a while, that takes its toll on you. So you're in a way kind of putting that stress on yourself. You know how we say stress causes a lot of diseases or weight gain and all the different things? It will, after a while, build up and affect you. So you're being unfair to yourself. You're being unhealthy to yourself by also doing that. So if you can in any way, even if it's your grandfather or your husband's or whatever it is, let them know why. You made the decision for your own benefit for you to move on, but this is the reason why. Because imagine, I don't know if I would feel right knowing that all of a sudden a friend disappears off the planet, like they fell off the world for me and basically said bye. And I'm sitting there going, I have no idea what happened. And I think we've all had that happen at one point in our lives. And we're sitting there going, what the hell was that? Last I knew, we were doing so well, or whatever it is. And this person just said, that's it, they're moving on. And it could be, a lot of times I've had where people would come and say things to you, and you hear one part, you make a decision based on that one part, and you're not hearing the other part to it. Or at least to me, I'm the kind of person that will confront the person and say, did you really do da 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 da? I want to hear what it is. And a lot of times, I'm not going to go to you alone. If I can, I will set it up where the accuser and the accused are standing there and let me tell me it all. Because a lot of times when you put people in front of one another, they the truth comes out, because there's that person's side, the other person's side, and then the truth in the middle. And then you might be able to solve things better for yourself and cause less stress on you. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. What do you think, Goddess Rhonda?
I have a whole different take on that because I've had relationships where I just said, screw it, and I walked away. But the people know why I walked away. There's no question as to why I walked away. You know,
Okay.
just to like give you an example. I tend to attract stalkers, even in friends, where they just, I don't know, they get a little crazed when it comes to me. I don't know why that. That's not true. I have this big Pluto thing in my astrological chart that causes that. But I had this friend years ago. I'm going to use her as an example. And we were really tight. I mean, we were really, really, really close friends. And then she only wanted me to be her friend. I wasn't allowed to have other friends. It was like, you know, you're with a guy, he doesn't want you to talk to other boys because he doesn't want you to get involved with them. She didn't want me talking to anybody. She just wanted me to be her friend only, which I'm not going to do that. I'm not just going to be your friend. I have a right to have other friends. And she just actually got very possessive. And with the thing that finally, when I made my decision, because we really were very close, but she was just becoming more and more obsessive. And what am I doing? And why wasn't I hanging out with her instead of my other friend or whatever? She was almost like a jealous boyfriend. And one day, her mother called me because her mother was going to give her a surprise birthday party. But the date that of the birthday party was on a date my sister, my little sister has always wanted to be an actress, but instead she got married, had 5 kids, and the whole thing. But then she decided that to fulfill that need within her, she created this little one woman show where she wrote these little scripts, and she was going to act them out by herself. And she got a room at the library, and invited all of us to come down and watch her one woman show. And it was on that same date. So I told her mother, I said, I can't go to the birthday party because I'm going to my sister's one woman show. And her mother was fine with it and said, okay, I understand. And that was it. Well, the day after the party and my sister's show, my friend calls me up and says, why didn't you come to my birthday party? And I said, oh, you know what? I explained to your mom that my sister was doing this one woman show and I was already going to, go to that. And it was the same time as your party, so I couldn't make the party. And she said to me, well, who's more important, me or your sister? And I said, that's when I said, okay, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I hung up the phone. I said, my sister is more important. I hung up the phone and I refused to take her phone calls anymore. I
Right.
just walked away. Because,
Yeah.
I'm looking at what you wrote here, Goddess Clove Moon. And you're saying here, I'm just coming up to this, where you're saying here, you know, um, it's too late to talk things over. It wouldn't matter. I get to the point I don't want to open the lid on my feelings that I have painfully worked through. That means these people have caused you pain. You didn't just get up one day and say, you know what, I think I'm not going to be friends with my grandfather or my two husbands anymore. These people have caused you so much pain that it took you that long, your coping skills, that long to finally examine it and walk away. I don't think you owe them a freaking explanation. They already know what they've done. Even if it's on a
Right.
subconscious level, you owe them jack shit. If they hurt you that badly that you had to work your way through it and finally get the gumption up to walk away, they are very aware of why you walked away. And these same friends that are saying, oh, you're being judgmental or you're not being fair, your obligation is to you. You have to do what your coping skills allow. Don't listen to your friends that are inviting you back into it, obviously abusive relationships that do not serve your highest and best good. And I promise you, these same people, if you had to work that hard through the pain that they caused you, they are well aware of the pain that they caused you. They might not want to acknowledge it, they might not want to take responsibility for it, but on some level, they know. And if they caused you that much pain, you owe them jack shit. So I don't feel that you need to explain anything to them. Now, if you're walking away from someone who has been nothing but kind and nurturing to you, and you just decide, well, this person is no longer, serving your journey right now, then of course I would expect you or hope that you would sit down to those who have been kind to you and say, listen, you know what, you're just been the most awesome friend I could ever have. However, I'm moving forward with some other things I might not have all the time that I used to have, excuse me, to talk to you or hang out with you, but I just want you to know that I love you and appreciate all that you do for me. I'm sure that you would not walk away from that kind of thing. But if you had to walk away because someone has caused you so much pain that you couldn't even just stand it anymore, you were saving yourself. You were saving yourself from that pain, from being stuck in an abyss that they put you in. You saved yourself. So my attitude is, if they caused you that much pain, they know very well what they did to make you walk away, and you don't owe explanations to anybody. And if anybody walks up to you and says, well, you're just being judgmental and you're not being fair, say, you know what? Mind your damn business, because you didn't live what I lived with these people. It's none of your fucking business. So stay the hell out of my life. How about that? So now I'm walking away from them and I'm walking away from you. So piss off and walk away.
Right.
You don't owe anybody jack. Remember that. You owe an obligation to yourself. You can only work within your own coping skills. And if these people have caused you that much pain, they know what they did. You owe them nothing. So walk away and save yourself. And it's important, save yourself. Don't let somebody pull you under and keep pulling you under to the point till you finally can't
Right.
swim
Right.
anymore and you go under and drown. Save yourself. Shake them off your ankles and swim to shore. If they want to sit out there in the middle of the ocean drowning, that's their business. You have to save yourself. So what you did by walking away from this pain, you saved yourself. And that is what you are supposed to do. Your obligation is to you. And that's the way it is. So if it's someone who has been kind to you and has done nothing wrong to deserve you walking away, if it's just a matter of we have different goals in life now, and now you need to bring in people that are more in alignment with what you're doing, then of course sit down and explain, hey, you know what? I just love you. You've been the best sister ever, or the best friend ever, or whatever it is. But I need to move forward with some other things. I'm not going to really have that much time to spend with you anymore. I just don't want you to take it personally, and I just wanted to explain to you
Right.
what's going on. Then, of course, you want to do something. But if someone has caused you nightmarish pain, you owe them jack. You owe them less than zero. Save yourself. You did okay. That's my opinion
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. And I agree. I agree wholeheartedly what you said, but that's what I was saying. It depended on the situation and what it was. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So, yeah, good on whatever it is, depending on the situations. So good. Okay.
All right. So there we were. Okay. So now we are up to, I think we're now into money. If I'm not, we're
Um,
into money now,
yeah,
right?
the finances, cleaning up of our finances.
All right. Now, we gave you some tips last week for that because we wanted to at least include everything. So let me make sure I'm not going to tell you the same thing. Okay. Um, all right. So my first tip for cleaning up your finances is to break them down. So let's just say, for example, because you don't forget the universe has to find an inlet to bring you the money. They have to find an inlet to bring it to you. So let's just say you owe $50,000 in credit card debt, and you're at a job where you make, I don't know, $30,000 a year, and there's no overtime. It's going to be a little harder for the universe to find you $50,000 because you're like, I need $50,000 to get out of debt. Please help me with this $50,000. $50,000 isn't easy to come by. That money has to come from somewhere. And, unless you happen to play the lottery all the time and you get lucky, that money needs to come from somewhere. And it's an unreasonable amount to ask for that much money all at once. So break it down. So let's just say of that $50,000 that you owe Citibank 500, and you owe, I don't know, Chase 2,500, and you owe whatever it is that you owe them. Macy's, you owe this, and Sears, you owe that. Start with the smallest one and work your way up there. So instead of, let's say you owe Sears 500 and you owe Macy's 2,500 and you owe, I don't know, Lowe's Home Improvement $3,000. Start off with the 500 and start petitioning for the 500 because it's easier for the universe to find you $500 than it is for them to find you 50,000 all at once. Break it down into increments. Okay, first universe, I need $500. And if I need to, and then tell them I'm willing to work a second job to get it. I'm willing to start a side business to get it. Just help me get it. I'm willing to give you the inlet for it to come through. I just need you to help me to get that second job, or I need you to help me to get this business started so that I can have the money. I have a way for the money to flow to me and you can get it to me easier. But it's a lot easier for them to find you a job for, a part-time job where you can make 500 bucks in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, just working a couple of hours a day to pay off that debt, than it is for them to come up with a whole $50,000 to just hand you. I'm not saying that can't happen, but it's a lot easier if you break your money spells to get out of debt down into pieces. Start off with the first amount, and then once that's paid, say, okay, goddess or God or whoever it is you're praying to, universe. All right, we got rid of the Sears one for 500 bucks. Now I owe Macy's $2,500. I'm willing to keep working the second job, or I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to start my business. I just need you to help me. This way they can help you. Then probably over the course of a year or so, you can start to chisel it down and chisel it down and chisel it down until there's nothing left. It might take you a couple of years to do it, but at least you're whittling it down and you're seeing progress instead of asking for this big giant lump sum of money that if the universe doesn't have a way to get it to you right away. I mean, certainly we don't want someone to die and leave you an inheritance of $50,000 because that cost somebody their life. And again, you could play the lottery and get lucky, but just like you're praying for $50,000 from that lottery drawing, so is everybody else, the millions of people who bought that ticket. So your petition has a lot of competition out there to get that. So it's better to break it down incrementally and figure out a way. Okay, I want the universe, I need them to give me $500 so I can pay off this debt real quick. How can they get that to me? I know right down the block, they're looking for a part-time person to go work the counter for 3 hours a day. or you know what, I've been really meaning to start my business because I make these awesome bracelets. I'm going to set up an Etsy shop and I'm going to go ahead and get that done so I can start bringing the money in. So don't try to ask for giant lump sums of money all at once. It's a lot easier to break it down into increments and then take a look at, okay, how can I create an inlet for that money to flow to me? How can I do that? And you want to make sure you say an inlet. You don't want to say, I'm going to create an outlet. We don't want the money going out. We want the money coming in. So you want to create an inlet for the money to flow to you. And so that's my first tip for cleaning up your finances. What have you got, Goddess Star?
Well, one of the things that my first step that I usually do when I'm starting to work on anything pertaining to money is I tend to do a money uncrossing, or yeah, it's basically a money uncrossing. I would take a green candle and you could kind of do the X's all the way down and across. And I'm kind of basically saying I would like to, and you can reach out to any god or goddess of wealth because they'll work on blocking that situation. Or I think it's Ganesh, or is it Ganesha? Is that's good with blocking or removing things?
Yes, he removes all
You can reach out
obstacles.
to gods and goddesses like that. Huh, I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes, Ganesha removes all obstacles.
Right. And I will do it to remove anything, any kind of blockage, or anything in any way preventing you from receiving monies, or because a lot of times you've already put into things a lot of things into play, but for some reason it's not coming in and you're left with all these bills you have to pay, or what the different things are. So one of the first things I tend to do is that and I'm crossing for wealth in general or money in general, for it to be removed, any of those things removed, so that I can start making the way clear for anything else that I have to do. And that's a great tip that you said for breaking it up, because then right after that, once I've done that, and I'll probably do that for like about 7 days, let that candle burn out, and then I will start right away with what you said, with breaking it up, and depending on how much it is, the increments of whatever it is that you owe, that you need money for. So I think that's wonderful. But that's my first tip for doing it. I would remove any blockage and negative things that's preventing you from receiving the monies that you need, because a lot of times that's part of the big thing. Sometimes just doing that alone kind of makes things flow after that. Go ahead. Anything else? What about you, Goddess Rhonda, with a third tip?
Okay, so my third tip
Is it the
is,
third or the second? Sorry, I think it's the second tip. My mistake.
okay, no problem. All right, so I already told you guys last week, and I did not take the chat room down, so it's still there. Last week, if you scroll up in the chat room, you will see the spells that we gave last week. Goddess Star and I, we gave you spells to bring money into you. So I'm not going to repeat that one because we've already went through that one. So I'm going to skip down to the next one, which is, and this is just practical knowledge. Take your bank account, take your bank statement, and take a couple of months worth of bank statements. Maybe you have to look at them online or print them out or whatever, however you can look at them. And this is just a practical thing. Look at your bank statement. If you're a debit card swiper, especially, pay attention to where your money is going. Pay attention to that outlet that is coming to your life that your money is going through, and then figure out what can go. What are we wasting our money on? I know I personally, I can look at my bank statement and say, did I really spend that much eating out this month? What am I, insane? I'm a great cook. Why wouldn't I cook for myself? But sometimes I get very busy. I don't have time to cook for myself. So I'll go out and I'll grab something or order Chinese or something. Then I'm looking at my bank statement. See, I spent $150 eating out over the course of the month at lunches or dinner. That's $150. If you, in 4 months, that's $600. $600 is a lot of money. 150 is a lot of money. So if you
Yeah,
have
it is.
to, if you're going out for lunchtime, if you're working and you go out for lunch and you're spending $10 a day on lunch, that's $300 that you could have put towards your bill. So I'm not saying deprive yourself from eating out. I certainly don't do that. But if you can, bring your lunch. It doesn't take any kind of chef Cuisinart skills to make a bologna sandwich. You just take two pieces of bread and some bologna and you slap some mayo on it, maybe put a slice of cheese, put the bread together, and hey, lunch. And it probably only cost you maybe $1 at the grocery store by the time you figure out, two pieces of bread and two pieces of bologna and a piece of cheese and some mayo. Maybe it cost you $1, $2 to make that sandwich as opposed to the $8. So now you're maybe spending, what's 2 times 30? You'll be spending $60 a month in lunch because you made your own sandwiches, and you could put a little container of yogurt, one of those little sippy juice thingies like we give to kids. Maybe get you a little cute little lunchbox with a witch on it just for fun. And you'll, instead of paying $150 a month or $300 if you're paying $10 a day for lunch, and you can easily pay $10 a day for spending food when you're working, because you got to grab your cup of coffee and your roll in the morning, or your cup of coffee and your bagel. Then you're going to spend, $7 for lunch. You can easily spend $300 a month just on eating out if you're during the course of the workday. So if you have to get up a little extra earlier to pour yourself a box of, a bowl of Cheerios, or make some oatmeal, or cook an egg and pack a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like I said, you don't have to be a chef to make peanut butter and jelly or a cheese sandwich or a tuna fish sandwich. You could save a lot of money. Look at where your money is going. If you like to go and party at the club on the weekends and you're like, oh my God, I just spent, every time I go to the club, I'm spending $50 in drinks. That's $200 right there. And add that on top of what you spend. Now you're down $500. Decide what can go. Maybe, intersperse your drinks, have a drink because it's the mixed drinks that cost you $8. Then intersperse it with a glass of water that's not going to cost you anything, so that you can cut that bill down. Where can you save money? Where is your money going? Because a lot of us don't know where our money goes. We just know at the end of the month we don't have any. But we're like, well, where'd my money go? I made all this money. Where the hell did it go? You have to take a look at that. So take a look at your bank statement, or save all of your receipts for a month. If you're a cash person, save all your receipts for a month. So just as soon as you buy something, throw it in a bag or an envelope. Get one of those manila envelopes, put it in the manila envelope. You can get 12 manila envelopes, and for each month, you just take your receipt, slap it in the envelope. And then you can, at the end of the month, look at your receipts and say, what did I spend my money on? Oh my goodness, I spent $300 eating out this month. I spent $200 going to the club. I wasted this money. I could have had that $500 or whatever it is. Once you really take the reins and take control over your money, you have to understand where it's going. And once you do that, then you can really make some sensible decisions on how to clean up what needs to go, what not to waste money on. You might say, oh my God, I spent $80 at the laundromat this month. Okay, well, you've got to have clean clothes, but it might behoove you now to consider getting one of those little washer dryer thingies. If you live in an apartment, you can hook it up to your sink. I think they cost a couple of $100, but over the course of the year, if you spend $250 for that, but you'd normally be spending $60 a month on your laundry, 6 times 12 is 72. That means you spend $720 on laundry with no investment in the machine, when you could have spent $250 on a machine that's going to serve you for a couple of years. So we really have to think logically about where is our money going and what can we do, what needs to go, how can we manage it better, how can we allocate the funds better, so that we can do what we need to do, pay off what we need to pay off. Maybe you have to cut back on some fun things, but if it's going to help you to get out of debt and achieve that goal, once you're out of debt, then you'll have a little extra that you can do some things for yourself. Or you can allocate, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to spend, oh my God, I spent $400 in entertaining myself this month. This month, I'll cut it down to $100, and I'll take that $300 and I'll put that towards my Sears bill or my Macy's bill or my student loan or whatever it is. Take a good, hard look at your money and where it's going, and then assess what needs to go and what can stay. And you'll end up actually saving money if you do that. And then you can take those funds and allocate it to paying off your debts. So that's my tip for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it made me want to add a bit to that, of what you said, because you're absolutely right. You got to think in the mundane as well, because our money is in the mundane.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so one of the things that I want to add to that is, um, living within your means, because I know so many people right now that are in, when they tell me they have $8,000 on this credit card and 10,000 on this credit card and all the other things that they owe, and I'm sitting there going, and then I sit back and I'm like, first of all, I have a bad habit. I literally have taken any credit cards about 15 years ago and I cut them up. I don't have any credit cards. I live with my debit cards. That to me is living within my means. I don't have to live up to the Joneses out there or anybody else. I'm living up to me. So my problem, I hate debts. That's my problem. I hate debts in the extreme. I don't want to owe anyone anything. It bothers me. So, other than your living bills, I pay that off first and things like that. But honestly, if I go, I am not embarrassed by this. If I go to a store and I want something and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get it. And here's the card. I want to get it. And then they, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am, but your card says decline. And they love saying that to you loudly. So
Yeah.
I respond. I respond loudly. They never say it quietly. You notice that? And oh, your card has declined. And I said, oh, that's okay, real loud. That's absolutely fine. When my card has that money on it and it doesn't decline it, I'll be back.
Right.
Don't worry about it. I'm good with that. Because I told the bank, if I don't have the money, do not pay it for me because they want to pay it for you. They've offered. And they're like, no, 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 I'm good. If the money's not there, I don't mind being declined. I said, I looked them in dead in the eye and I go, it declined. Oh crap. I would love to have gotten it now. But you know what? It's okay. It declined. So what? When I have the money in there, it would not be declined and I'll get it then if it's meant to be. And I
Right.
walk away going, crap, I wish I could have gotten it. But I don't owe anyone anything. And it's okay. I literally, when I'm hearing them say all the different credit cards that they owe, and they look at me and I just say, I don't owe anybody. I don't have any credit card debts. I literally don't owe it. So I'm okay with that. I'm quite happy to know because it makes me feel like heaven. I honestly don't owe any credit card debts or any of those things. And it's been like that for years. I'm okay with that. If I don't have it in my cash and my cash is my debit card basically. So I can walk around, how a lot of times you get to the grocery store and you see people using their credit cards, not their debit cards, but their credit cards to pay for groceries. When you get to the point where you are paying for your groceries with your credit card, you're in trouble. At least that's the way I see it in my head. Because if you're buying groceries with your credit card, you're in trouble. So if you are using that debit card, I love flashing my debit card. Go ahead. It's okay. Because the I've got the debit card. It's not the black card. It's a green card. It's okay. I
Hmm.
don't mind. A platinum card or whatever. My card is green. It's okay. You know. And that may be not the best way because maybe some people love using their credit cards, but I just don't like that because even when I did have a credit card, they didn't like me too much because I literally used to go on vacation and I would say, I'm going to spend $4,000 on this vacation. And I paid them. All of a sudden, they'll get 4,000 in cash, and I paid. And they're like, ma'am, and they will call me, ma'am, you don't owe us anything. Why are you paying $4,000? I said, because I'm going on vacation. And then I would hear silence on the other end. And I'm like, I'm going on vacation, so I needed to pay you this. And they're like, but mom, I said, yeah, because that's my budget, $4,000, you know? And so when I came back, they didn't owe me anything. I didn't owe them anything. They did not like me. And they kept raising my credit limit, raising it ma'am, maybe you need more credit limit. I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine. And you would notice they'll keep raising your credit limit because, they're wondering why you're paying it ahead of time. So they
Right.
didn't like me too much, but I'm just saying stick with, if it will make you feel better and happier, which it does me, knowing that you don't have any credit card debts and you're living within your means, that's a good thing to do as well. It's just my thought on it. Okay, now that I've said that run on there, I'm going to move on. What was the next step? The third one?
Okay, so next, and this is going to be our last one for the night because all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock again. And
Oh wow. Okay.
so we still
So
actually have two categories to get through. So we'll do that for part three. We'll do careers and life in general. But
okay. But
to
for
get
this
through
one,
this
is
one,
it the third tip or the fourth tip are we on?
well, it's technically, I think it's the fourth tip because one of them I skipped because I gave it last week.
Okay.
So I think we're on, I'm pretty sure it's on the fourth tip. And so my fourth tip is, a lot of people will do prosperity spells and then they don't work and then they get upset or um, they give up and say, well, I just prosperity spells just don't work for me. And, I'm going to tell you, when I had seen an astrologer, that was like in 94, and he told me that because of my astrological birth chart, I was going to spend my life chasing money. I was going to chase money for the rest of my life. That's not really good news to hear, when you go to see an astrologer and it's like, well, you've got this going on, you're going to be chasing money for the rest of your life. And it turned out he was right. Every time I would get money, it would go out the window. I was constantly chasing money. I'd made a lot of money in my life and poof, gone. And always chasing and chasing and chasing money. And, I would do spells to try to fix it, and I'd get the money that I needed, and then it would go right out the window again. I just couldn't figure out, what I did to deserve this, to have to chase money for the rest of my life. And then I started looking at it. I realized I was looking at that from a mundane level where my astrologer, he's a great astrologer, but he's not a witch. He's not metaphysical. He's actually scientific because to him, astrology is a science. So I sat down one day and I said, even though looking at it scientifically, it would appear that my job is to chase money. I'm supposed to learn about chasing money. I took a look at it metaphysically from a spiritual and witch standpoint, and I said, you know what? I don't think my job here to this lifetime is to chase money. I think I am supposed to study money and study prosperity. I am supposed to learn about prosperity. And so I started studying money. And I literally immersed myself in prosperity spells. I bought Christopher Penzak's The Magic Coin. He's got nothing but
Yes, that's a great book.
prosperity spells in there. I've got other books. I've got books from a whole bunch of people. I tried their spells. I'd have 5 or 6 prosperity spells going at the same time. Candles for all different things going on. And what I mainly learned from all of this is once I really got into the flow of studying money magic, learning what herbs work, what this work, what that works. And I mean, from so many different people that I could bring in as much as I could expose myself to. What started happening was I came up with my own spells that I believe really worked from past life memories, or they were divinely guided through a direct channel. Where my spells that I came up with were actually starting to work. They really work for me now. And I had to get into the flow of prosperity. I had to study money. I had to immerse myself in I did all kinds of prosperity ceremonies. I made offerings of prosperity, gods and goddesses. I had 5 candles going at the same time. I immersed myself. And through that, I've developed my own system that's working for me. And so if you're having money issues and you've tried money spells and they're just not working, when you look at the spell from someone else, that spell was made custom to them and their situation and what their elements are, who their gods and goddesses are. That might not be who you are, or who you're dealing with, or who your people are. So immerse yourself. Get every magical prosperity spell book you can find. Run 10 spells at the same time. Run 10 candles. See which ones work. And it's hard to say, you got 5 going. I can't say for sure which one of these worked. But what I can say is by immersing myself, I opened up my psychic mind and came up with spells that I never would have tried, that I never would have thought of. They just came to me. And I believe that they were either reopened from past lives or they were spirit led. But either way,
Right.
I feel like because all of this new wisdom came to me, I passed my test. And I don't feel worried about money anymore. This is the first time in, I don't know, I won't say how many decades, but many decades, that I don't worry about money anymore. I know it's going to be there. But I had to immerse myself in that. I had to pull myself out of my mundane mind where my astrologer scared me and said, you're going to be chasing money for the rest of your life. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be chasing money for the rest of my life. And then I made it into a self-fulfilling prophecy. I had to sit back and say, well, wait a minute. I don't think I'm supposed to be chasing money. I think I'm supposed to learn and study money. Maybe in this lifetime, that's the magic I need to be studying. That's what I need to focus on. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. So immerse yourself. Don't just try one spell and it didn't work out right and say, well, they just don't work. Immerse yourself. Get some books for yourself. Look up online. Try this spell. Make candles. Try oils. Do all kinds of things. Take money baths. Do all kinds of things to immerse yourself in that prosperity magic energy. And you will find that things are going to start to change. And you will open your mind up and you'll create all of your own spells, or have spells that you might have forgotten from 2 lifetimes ago that suddenly you remember how to do it, or the universe will just give you spirit led information to help you with that. So don't just try one spell or two spells, or do a spell once a week and then it's not really giving you all the money that you want. You absolutely must immerse yourself in this, and then the money will start to flow to you. So that is my tip for that.
That's awesome. And actually, well, I have a two time, because I know we're done, right? Really quickly, I just wanted to say one of the things that I found that work really well are two things combined. I tend to use any spells that you're working on, or as Goddess Rhonda said, immersing yourself in whatever amount of spells. Light a green candle and a brown candle. I think I've mentioned this before. That green candle, or if it's a red candle, if you're in China, because red for them is money.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever color it is, that's money for you, but brown will be the other candle. The reason for that is, if it's red in China, that's your money candle. The brown is the consistency, or to make it stabilized, the brown representing the earth, and the fact that it keeps you stable and relied on, and your finances flowing continually, so that it doesn't just come in and go out, but rather comes in, stays, and pays the other bills and everything, but stays as well in a stable manner, of where you can actually say, I'm not surviving, I'm not just existing, I'm living, and I'm living without having to, like you said, be worrying about money all the time, because it will keep it flowing. And then add a little bit of a High John the Conqueror root. That's another good one with it that you can add. Some people burn it. Some people put it in their cash register. Some people carry it in their purses or on their person. Anything like that. It really works well. All of those things work well together. So I would add that as part of it, as you immerse. And that's, as a spell part to add as part of the immersion. Use that. And for me, I use the green because I'm in the Western world. So I use the green candle. And you can draw on it a dollar sign, or the pyramid of wealth, whatever it is you want to put on it, as a sigil, or just create one from your words that you write on the candle. And then the brown candle, you say, I want to always be able to live comfortably, whatever it is that you want from that brown candle. And you can burn them together. I don't mean like in one candle. I mean like a green candle here and a brown candle here, because a lot of times they tell you burn one candle only at a time. This you can burn together. All right. And it works. I guarantee you it works. Everyone I've known that I've had in my classes or anything, on my candle spell classes and stuff like that, they've said how well it works. Just giving you that little idea, because I know we're running out of time.
No, I think that's great. I think, all the information that we can give is we try to give as much information as we can to help pull you guys out of your situations. Unfortunately, our time is up again and we're still not finished. So please come back next week where we'll be finishing this up, our third and final part, because we're going to be talking about cleaning up your career, cleaning up your life in general, and then we will also finish with our money spell tips. I think we still have two
And
more tips to give.
right, right, okay. Oh, so we'll do the rest of the money spell tips
Yeah,
tomorrow.
but I don't want to.
Next Monday.
I
Okay,
don't want to
fine. So
leave
I'm not
them
gonna say
without
this
that.
other part then. Alrighty, sounds
Yeah.
good.
I think it's important to give them those tips. So we can fit two more tips in. And
Okay,
um, that should be okay. And then we'll do the career also and finish and cleaning up your life. So we'll do
okay,
part three
sounds
next
good.
week. And so we hope that you enjoyed this and that you're getting lots of knowledge. Again, I won't bother taking the chat room down, so you can go back and keep looking at things in case you wanted to go back and look at something. We're going to go ahead and leave that up again. As I said before, the prosperity spells we gave last week are detailed in the chat room. So if you scroll upward, you'll see those spells that you can do. I think God a Star gave. Did you give a bath or something? Or I know you did. I know you gave a couple of spells. I just can't remember what they were.
Right, yeah, I did. I gave a bath spell for removing negative things from your life, and actually that works well, very similarly, for money. All you have to do is add a bit of basil to the bath, basil and bay leaves to that same bath, and all you're going to be doing is kind of saying the words of I'm receptive, because a lot of times we're not, people can do all the immersion and all the spells. If they're not receptive to receiving or thinking that they deserve that money, it
Hmm.
will just kind of keep going on past them. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
part of that bath would be to keep saying, repeat for about 10 minutes, I am deserving of that money. I am deserving, and I need to have it all come at me. And say whatever it is that you have to say repeatedly for it to come to you in that bath. It works.
Excellent. And I gave you my spell candle for turning your money into a money magnet so that your bank account becomes a money magnet and your wallet becomes a money magnet. So we've got those great spells. If you just scroll upward, they will be there for you. I'll leave the chat room up for another week or so that everyone will have a chance to take a look at those. And then if worse comes to worse and we take it down, you can still go back to part one of this series and hear about it. So either way, it'll still be there. But with that said, as always, we are so grateful to all of you. We love all of you in the chat room. We are so glad that you joined us. As always, we are so thankful for your support. And as always, we say, Merry Meet, Merry Part,
And a
and
merry
Merry
meet
Meet
again.
again. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you right back here next week. Have a great week.
Yes, yes. And it's wonderful as usual. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Good night.